Thanks, Gregor. Morning, Paul. What's the latest on the status of Adam Lowry, please?
So he doesn't have a concussion diagnosis yet. So he's gone through his tests. We're going to be precautionary with him. He won't play tonight, and we'll list him as day-to-day.
We'll go next to Scott Billick from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks, Gregor, and good morning, Paul. Just a question about the platoon on defense that you have running here, and are there any benefits to that this late in kind of a season? And granted, it's not as late as it normally would be, but what are the benefits of having kind of a three kind of person rotation or competition, I suppose, right now?
Well, you're talking about three guys that we don't have a tremendous amount of experience with. I mean, Jordy clearly has the most NHL experience, but he's new to us. And then you've got two kind of rookies trying to make their name and fight in the league. We feel we've, earned a cushion in that we can keep guys into playing games and also get an assessment. So we're still learning about what's the right pair, what's the best pairing. You'd like to see them against different opponents, get a feel for what they look like against different opponents, and then you're going to make a decision on who you think, is your best 5-6 pair going into the playoffs.
We'll go next to Paul Friesen from the Winnipeg Sun. Go ahead, Paul.
Thanks, Gregor. Hey, Paul, just a little clarification on Adam. Are you still kind of waiting then for a diagnosis decision, or?
No. So he's passed his test, is the truth, and he's not at 100%. So we just treat it like that until we can rule absolutely everything out. So we're, I don't know that we're more cautious than any, but we are clearly very cautious with all these. We were with Blake, whether you have one or you don't, in terms of the diagnosis. We still go through a process until we get a guy back to 100%. And when he's at 100%, feels great, gets on the ice, he's passed all his tests, then away we go.
We'll go next to Kelly Moore from 680 CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Hey, good morning, Paul. And if you want to give me a slug in the shoulder or whatever virtually, that's fine, because I think it was just last week when Adam signed, I asked you about being better positioned to handle life without him for however short or however many games that goes. Is Andrew right now, I guess, is going to slot in there, but are there some other things rolling around in your mind as to what you might need to do if this goes beyond tonight?
I mean, that's first option, and I like it. There are other things that we can do. I do blame you, Kelly, just so we're clear. But no, I mean, that one's a real simple one for me. Andrew goes into the middle, and Matty Perreault goes up there. That one will run for a while.
We'll go next to Sarah Lesky from TSN. Go ahead, Sarah.
Morning, Paul. Jordy Ben was out on the ice long after everyone, just looking to confirm if it's going to be Logan Stanley in tonight. Correct. And why you felt this was a good game to make that switch.
It was the plan that I had going into it, and I think there'll be, we took a big man out of our lineup in Adam Lowry, so it makes sense that we put another big man in. Want to get Jordy some practice time as well. I don't want any of these guys out of hockey games for a long period of time until I get real comfortable with the direction we're going to go.
We'll go back to Scott Billick from the Sun. Go ahead, Scott.
Well, how much do you value kind of size and I don't know if toughness is the right word when it comes to your back end heading into the playoffs?
Effectiveness first. Overall size does not automatically equate to physicality. There's lots of big men that aren't physical, and there's lots of little guys. Neil Pionk is as physical as there is in the National Hockey League, in my mind, in terms of the way he approaches the game. So it's all about effectiveness. It won't, and there's lots of different ways to be effective in an NHL game. Moving the puck is different sometimes than offensive skill. The good decisions, the quick ones, the ones that happen real fast, that are on the tape, it's just as effective or important as, the guy that can maybe find a guy across ice a little easier. So whoever's the most effective.
We'll go next to Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Sean.
Hi, Paul. I'm just trying to get a gauge on your value of size. Like, I know you're saying that, and Neil Pionk, you're right, plays really big. But if you're taking out a big man and you're putting in a big man because you're taking out a big man, I'm trying to get a gauge on your value of size and how you are trying to use it.
I'm trying to get a grasp on the question. If we had 20 elite 3-foot players, they'd all be in the lineup tonight. If we had 20 terrible 7-foot players, none of them would play. Size has nothing to do with anything, but it's all about effectiveness. So when I say I took a big man out and put a big man in, we got some penalty killing things we're going to want to look at. I do think that Stanley and DeMello have played some really strong games for us. If we will play Josh Morrissey and Neil Pionk against big men, we will also play Forbert and Stanley against small men. It's having a balance and having options.
We'll go back to Kelly Moore from CJOB. Go ahead, Kelly.
Paul, one of the things that can be very effective, down the stretch and especially into the playoffs is having that player or players who can be a complete pain in the derriere to play against. It doesn't seem like you have any jerks on your team, but are there guys that can maybe, take on that different persona on the ice that can get under the skin of opponents, not just Toronto, but in going forward?
You know what? So much of that is I'll go back to that word effectiveness, right? There are guys that draw the camera. I find when I watch games, other teams play, that draw the camera, and a big deal is made about them getting under other players' skin. That, in my opinion, actually works in the opposite direction, right? You might snarl that other team up, but it's not like you're scoring 5 goals that night while you're doing it. All you've done is piss the other team off, and now they're really rolling, right? And then there are guys that are so hard to play against, and they agitate that maybe they get a few players on the other team off their game. I don't think it's as clearly, as easily defined or to see as you think. I think I'll just leave it at that. I don't know that the story that's told about some of the guys that are agitators around the league, that if you went into that team's locker room, they would say, yeah, that's a really big benefit for us when he's running around. The refs hate him and the other team's trying to kill him. But our record says that maybe it's not working so well for us.
And final question to Ken Weaver from Sportsnet. Go ahead, Weaver.
Thanks, Gregory. Paul, just because we didn't see Heinola on the ice, did he skate at a different time or?
We have some guys on the ice and some guys off the ice.
Okay, and then just a quick one. Why was it important for Eric Comrie to get a game with the Moose here today?
Just to get a game with the Moose here today. Like, we can practice these guys as much as we want, but we're going to want these guys to get into games. Anybody that we can play with the Moose, we're going to do our best to try to platoon this out to get them into games. It's just not the same thing.